I do not know who needs to hear this, but nightmare slander in the year 2026 has got to end. For years, I've dealt with the slander that Nightmare has gone through as a badge nightmare in NAEU. And I've just gotta say, it ends today. I've built together a list of all the reasons I can logically think of for how Nightmare can be viewed as bad, awful, terrible, no good, and I'm gonna stand here on trial to defend Nightmare mains. So without further ado, enjoy. Let's begin with reason 1 as to why you would believe that Nightmare is a bad character. Aesthetics. That's right, baby. You are a superficial individual who believes that if they don't look good, they are bad. For example, some of the sub-reasons for believing aesthetics count are its design. I don't like his anatomy. A giant finger? Ugh. Plus, his cosmetics? Puke emoji. Of course, if this is a strawman in any means, feel free to give a deeper analysis as to why you would feel that his uncanny aesthetics deter you from finding the character any good. But I do have some counterpoints. The first one, of course, being a defense to the Plague Doctor's aesthetic. Of course, not all Plague Doctors were good, no dip, but the aesthetic has been around for decades. People love flocking over to Plague Doctors for their symbolism, for their medieval era vibes, and overall, it is not wrong to claim that IDV needed their own example. Not only that, but also IDV's been well known for their uncanny anatomy, with characters who are disproportionate in so many methods. It is not crazy to make the statement that IDV's been doing this for a while with many of their hunters, so to draw the line on Nightmare is very strange. And of course, finally, power the purse. If more people showed support for Nightmare cosmetics, I fully believe that he would get better cosmetics, without a doubt. However, because Nightmare's character isn't as grand as characters, we don't see as much Nightmare outfits as we should. While this one is more subjective, it comes to a point where you have to ask yourself, am I really letting a superficial view of a character determine whether or not I like this character or not? And if so, what does that say about myself? Sure, you can criticize character design, and I'm all for that. However, you have to acknowledge that aesthetics alone is not a fair basis for disdain. The second point I see is chasing. But he's too strong. He just shreds through pallets. I drop a pallet and somehow it connects. His dashes don't let me transition to stronger spots. On top of all of that, he gets base kit teleport? Well, newsflash, he isn't actually that strong of a character. Definitely look at any professional's views on Nightmare and you'll see that there is definitely a lot more in points in reason 3 as to why he's not strong. However, in all seriousness, there are actual good points as to how you can improve against your Nightmare chases. Heck, there's plenty of really good guides on how to play as Nightmare. In the event this somehow convinces you to play as Nightmare, he is a character that is very easy to pick up, however does take some skill to perform in those higher levels. And while he may be threatening to you on the moment, plenty of practice will allow you to be able to counteract against a Nightmare main. I can guarantee that if you look into your own personal skills and grow throughout the many games you will encounter with all these different characters, you will see yourself get better with nightmare chases. In general, I see a lot of the stumbling blocks of playing up against a nightmare is just due to in-game inexperience. Now, here is reason number 3, and I feel like one of the more stronger points for disliking Nightmare. He's weak. Think about all of the top of the line hunters, all the big killers, all the ones that have blown up recently, characters that were popular and characters that are, and ask why Nightmare isn't among them. Well, there's a fair reason. Starting off, Nightmare is a pretty map-dependent killer. He's very strong in certain maps and not so in others. And of course, if you look into the data, you can see that map-dependent killers perform worse than some of the top meta picks. Why? Because the top meta picks are more versatile for many other situations in contrast to other map-dependent killers. Another example is the fact that he is rough with chases with windows or strong vault locations. There are certain areas and again certain maps that contain chases that are a bit strong going up against a Nightmare main. And then finally, he's a very bullyable killer. I mean, in general, his main line of attack is through his M1. No real way to gain much grand pressure other than terror shocks, and in the event you knock someone down and a forward or batter are nearby, you can see a lot of issues with picking up that survivor. However, there are fair points to picking Nightmare. To get started, I kind of want to go over some characters that are bad going up against Nightmare, including Matador and Lanternist, just to name a few of the modern characters that Nightmare counters. Matador, of course, is being experimented with in the higher rankings, and Nightmare can take advantage of said experimentation to the character through the use of his dashes. Even though he gets slowed down after being hit with the flag, he can still dash ahead in the regular speeds you should expect. Lanternist is a character that requires the illusion of a still frame to be able to trip up characters. However, being able to dash to a still frame may be advantageous in the event that you reach it. And of course, there's other characters that are iffy. Not all the characters that are new are countered by Nightmare. However, it is important to note that Nightmare's dash ability still counters a fair amount of characters, especially those that attempt to use distance to gain an advantage, as Nightmare can make that up, especially in larger open areas. And of course, many of the top of the line hunter killers have tried using Nightmare before in the past, especially after the ban wave comes through and all of the top of the line killers get banned out, and especially the maps as well. For example, Aka, the killer for the team Reject or RC, has been known for his amazing Nightmare games that resulted in 4 eliminations. And finally, of course, this one seems to be a bit of a lame cop-out, but he is Potential Man in Identity 5. He has such a low entry to play, such a simplistic build, and yet still has so much potential in terms of his skill ceiling, how high he can go from there, what he can utilize his dashes for, especially when going up against a top of the line team. Nightmare may be simplistic, however, I feel that with the right pilots can perform extraordinarily. So if there's a defense for his aesthetics and design, if there's a defense for going up against Nightmare, and there's a defense for playing Nightmare, that kind of leaves me with one more question. Why wouldn't you like this character? He's got this big grand energy that comes with a villain of the story, mastermind behind it all. He's got the entry level of a great beginner killer, while also having the skill ceiling of a top mid-ladder hunter. What is stopping us from admiring a character like Nightmare? What is causing some people to claim he is the worst character in the game? And truly, when will we all come together and acknowledge that this character truly has more to him than we give him credit for? If this video didn't convince you, that's okay. You can have your opinions and have a valid reasoning behind them. But I make this video to put into question that said criticism. Allow for everyone to see both sides of the same coin, and in the end of the day decide whether or not they're gonna let cosmetics or win rates determine whether or not they personally view favor to my main. My main. Thank you so much for watching. Like and subscribe, and I'll see you.